Is there anyone out there tonight?
Bear Friend Tea Party!
Hey Bill, I reckon the crowd's gone home. There's no one here tonight. I didn't hear anyone out there.
What?
I'll try again. Anyone out there tonight?
Bear Friend Tea Party!
Thank you for listening. At the sound of the dome, the time will be Bear Friend Tea Party.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Your eyes that look at me, it's not the same as before. I'm still good looking, but why do you look at me like I'm a worn out shoe? I'm so pretty, whatever I wear, I'm so sexy even if I don't show skin. My risque high heels, black stockings, you won't be able to take your eyes off me. Don't stop me. When I wear a mini skirt and I walk on the street, everybody looks at me, I'm wearing a mini skirt. But why are you the only one who doesn't know? I'm a confident girl, but why are you making me struggle? You only ignore me, but I don't know where I'll bounce off to. I make time to get my nails done and change my hair. I wear new shoes and I wear a mini skirt, but you don't notice. Why are you so indifferent? Before other wolves come and snatch me away, pay attention, boy. Yeah. Hey, brave sound. Drop it. I'm so pretty. Yeah. Whatever I wear, I'm so sexy even if I don't show skin. My risque high heels, black stockings, you won't be able to take your eyes off me. Don't stop me. When I wear a mini skirt and walk on the street, everyone looks at me. I'm wearing a mini skirt. Why are you the only one who doesn't know? Drop it. Ah, yeah. Yeah.
BearFriendTeaPartyPodcast.com.
I'm a confident girl. Why are you making me struggle? You only ignore me, but I don't know where I'll bounce off to. I'm getting more and more tired. Even your eyes that look at me, why is it so cold? I don't know, but it'll change now. I'm a confident girl. Why are you making me struggle? You only ignore me, but I don't know where I'll bounce up to. Oh, I'm wearing a mini skirt. Fuck yeah. I'm wearing a mini skirt. Motherfucker. I'm so pretty, whatever I wear. I'm so sexy, even if I don't show skin. My risque high heels, black stockings. You won't be able to take your fucking eyes off me. Don't stop me. I'm wearing a mini skirt. Don't fuck with me. I'll fuck you up, motherfucker. Ignore me, I will punch you in the fucking dick. I'm wearing a mini skirt. KOA, fuck yeah, you ready to drop it? Then let's drop this fucking shit. Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, remember the Cambodian genocide?
Not funny.
Yeah, see, that doesn't... No, it doesn't work. Does it?
They're from fucking Tea Party.
All right. So, Chris, to answer your question, this week on Bear Friend Tea Party, boy, do we have an action-packed show for you. For segment 1, nagging question. Can you really make a boat out of an old bathtub? Segment 2, canceled. You know what? I'll read it anyway, because that's funny. Yeah. Segment 2, Flowers of Disgust Ethics Panel. DuckTales Allowance Day, 1989, wherein Scrooge's nephews trick him into thinking it's a day later than it really is, so he will give them their allowance money early before a certain bicycle sale ends. But the plot backfires after Scrooge's vast influence among the finance sector causes a ripple effect in which everyone in town becomes convinced it's a day later, including the bike store.
Could use Gyro's time, Doug.
That segment has been canceled.
But he hasn't got the kinks worked out of it.
Segment 3, how many bills can we name? And segment 4, a special Thanksgiving serious discussion. Is American democracy doomed? A discussion of Matthew Yglesias' American Democracy is Doomed. That was in Vox magazine in just this October.
It was almost 2.5 years ago.
Pretty, some killer shit. Bear Friend Tea Party.
That's good, thanks.
Well, before we get into that, why don't we do listener email corrections and addenda?
Jeremy, I have 7 corrections and 3 addenda.
Well, let's hit the listener email first. Didn't get any email this week.
No, but you know what we did get, Jeremy? We did get 2,464 people that looked at our Facebook link of our most recent episode.
Really?
Yeah.
They looked at it?
They looked at it. It looks like, yes, it looks like 5 of them clicked on it.
So when you say they looked at it, that means it was on their screen.
Yeah, I gave Facebook $20 to promote that post.
That explains why we're all millionaires now.
So, welcome new listeners. Glad to have you. If you notice, there's occasional sound effects of a phone ringing and Bob Newhart answering it. Where are you from? Anyway, we did get a comment on the blog for the most recently released episode 00026, the 1955 where everybody has green dicks.
Classic episode.
Listener $100 worth of free pudding left a comment saying, nice building, bad roof, good parking.
What is the value of pi?
Was that Jeffrey Jones?
His email address is betchaeatthatUp at unlikelyfreefoods.com.
Bear Friend Tea Party this week is sponsored by unlikelyfreefoods.com.
Site currently down.
Well, let's move on to corrections and addenda.
I got nothing.
All right. Well, I have a correction. In episode 00018, William Howard Taft, during the segment, What Famous Fat Person Am I claimed to be former British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. And that was not true.
What?
What happened there, I think that I think I got a little excited with the name of that topic, and I really probably should have called that Guess What Famous Fat Person I Have Pre-Selected to Be in This Segment. And
I've been wondering that for months. Thanks for clearing that up.
So stop emailing in asking for Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister and hilarious drunk.
Stop emailing us asking for honors.
Yeah, seriously. Quit emailing and saying like, hey, lose some weight, Churchill.
And stop drinking.
Stop emailing us entirely.
Well, that didn't go well. Chris, did you have a correction?
I did. In episode 00033, the Otis Hypotenuse, in the segment Slang Terms for Escalator, John, you claimed that Abattoir Junior was a slang term for escalator.
I used that term just the other day.
That is incorrect. Every other term mentioned was accurate.
Oh gosh, that's embarrassing. I don't know how that one.
Yeah, I don't know how that got in there.
One erroneous term got in.
I don't know. I was at Macy's just the other day, and I said, hey, I'm looking for the Abattoir Junior. And the guy was like, what? And I was like, the escalator. And he was like, yeah, it's over there. And he said, I haven't heard that slang term before.
He was like, I haven't heard that slang term in years.
He was probably confused because the Abattoir Junior is the hot new children's toy that everyone wants for Christmas this year.
Anyway.
This is going well.
It might be. I do have, I have an addendum. Also in episode 00033, the Otis Hypotenuse. In our segment reminiscing about various dogs we have known, I just wanted to add listener Brent and Karen's dog Spalding, Sarah's dogs Hanny and Emmy, my old Charlottesville neighbors, like 3 to 6 annoying barky dogs that were always like running around in her yard at all hours of the night. Like, I'm talking to you, Elaine. Walk your damn dogs so they won't be so spazzing out all the time. And the dog from Full House.
That was a real mistake. Oh, the dog from Frasier. Nice work.
Segment 1. Nagging question. Can you really make a boat out of an old bathtub? So, this is my topic. I'll be leading this topic. This is a brief one. And so, we are often in popular media treated with an image of, after some unlikely chain of events, kind of an old codger or like Wile E. Coyote or something is like floating around in a makeshift bathtub boat craft. And so my question to you is, can you really make a boat out of an old bathtub? And the answer is...
Jeremy, I have a procedural question.
Yes.
Is the you in that question, is that referring to me?
One. Could one.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up.
Could one really make a boat out of an old bathtub?
Because it changes the answer,
And the answer is... yes. Provided it's not going to work with like an old really heavy like solid porcelain like clawfoot tub. I think that's going to be too heavy. It's not going to displace enough water.
I hardly think the claw feet are the issue.
No, but the solid well, they add weight.
No. They what, claw feet versus like regular feet?
What you would need are like anti-gravity feet.
The claw feet were really just added to my statement as kind of a colorful embellishment to help with the word picture.
Yeah.
Right. The answer is yes. You could make a makeshift raft or kind of dinghy thing out of an old bathtub if it was, for instance, an old kind of thin enamel-coated tin bathtub.
Right.
If it was like an old galvanized metal tub style bathtub, or a more modern fiberglass bathtub. I don't think it's going to work with a ornate solid porcelain tub with or without claw feet, because I think it's going to be too heavy. Now you're going to have to plug the holes.
That was my concern. I'm glad you brought that up.
You're gonna have to plug the holes, or else you're gonna be caught like bailing furiously the whole time. But yes, in a pinch, I think you could do it. It's not gonna be a very seaworthy vessel, not a ship, certainly, but a raft, yes.
But a river vessel.
Rivercraft.
Yeah.
And watercraft,
I wouldn't recommend this, like, if you were entering a regatta or any type of competitive boating race. That's all I got. But yeah, discuss.
I think you're on the right track. A subsidiary question. Two subsidiary questions. Number one.
This question has been resolved.
I would say.
Okay.
We're still dealing with the fallout. Though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
What are the implications?
There's some implications. So number one, let's say you had a bathtub with an attached shower curtain. Could you use the shower curtain as a sail?
You know, I think in a pinch, you maybe could, but I don't know exactly how you'd rig that up.
The shower curtain is attached. We're talking about a standalone bathtub with like a pole attached to it that goes up, and then a circular ring at the top.
Jeremy, it's your topic. Are we talking about that?
I mean, I would just emphasize again that, well, you might technically be able to use that as a sail. I don't think you should do that expecting the performance you might get from a sailboat that was constructed originally for that purpose. You know, I certainly wouldn't recommend trying to cross the ocean in such a vessel.
And that brings us to my question 2. If the shower curtain is likely to be ineffective, would you recommend that listeners store a pair of oars in or near their bathtubs so they'll be ready in the event that they find themselves at sea?
I mean, you're gonna want oars anyway. Regardless of whether you had a functional sail, you're gonna need to row sometimes.
I thought by anyway you meant whether or not your bathtub becomes a boat. Regardless, you're gonna want oars on your bathtub.
So, well, I'm just wondering, like, maybe this is a silly question, but
I doubt that.
In this scenario, do I live in a houseboat? Like, is that why it's likely to become an issue at all?
It's not strictly relevant.
Right. I guess that's not within the purview.
There could have been a flood
of the question.
If you lived in a houseboat, I think that your houseboat in a houseboat probably don't generally have a bathtub. You probably have kind of a stall-style shower.
That's why houseboats are so dangerous. Exactly. That's why you've got to be wearing a life preserver at all times.
You already know that I'm eccentric because I own a houseboat. Maybe I'm just like a clawfoot bathtub enthusiast.
That would be a pretty sweet bathtub setup in your houseboat.
The question that I'm wondering, though, is...
Okay, that wasn't your question.
You were not wondering the previous question.
No, not at all. Now, you mentioned... you mentioned in the... at the outset of this topic, you said that this was a common trope.
an occasional trope. I feel like...
Where have you seen this?
I feel like I have seen this depicted at some time.
Yeah, cartoons.
See, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's totally common, but I can't think of a single example.
If I may, an interesting addenda to this issue. If you Google the phrase bathtub as boat, you'll get multiple images of actual people using bathtubs as boats. One of them with a motor attached.
I know the picture you're talking about. The search you just did, the image search for bathtub boat, is the research I did for this topic. And I just glanced at it. It seemed like there were some people that had done it, but it didn't seem like they were winning regatta.
Sure. And the other thing is, if you modify your bathtub, is it really still a bathtub? At some point, like the proverbial bathtub of Theseus, it stops being the thing it was before,
It's a well-known proverb.
I mean, you're obviously not looking at these pictures of bathtub boats.
Your loss.
They are pretty clearly still bathtubs.
No, but they're not in service as bathtubs anymore,
Well, you don't know that. You might get to your destination and then
take a bath.
I think you're right.
But the essence of what I'm saying is that if you attach a motor to a bathtub, you're kind of in a way, already breaking the rules.
There's two situations in which you would want to make a bathtub boat. One of those situations is if you really need a boat and you need to like MacGyver that shit, and all you have available to you is an old bathtub. The other situation in which you might want to do this would just be if you were like,
all right, screw this. Moving on.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
Well.
Bear Friend Tea Party.
Big press space. Just a minute, press space. What are you talking?
Bear Friend Tea Party. Segment 2, Flowers of Disgust Ethics Panel. DuckTales Allowance Day, 1989, wherein Scrooge's nephews trick him into thinking it's a day later than it really is, so he will give them their allowance money early before a certain bicycle sale ends. But the plot backfires after Scrooge's vast influence among the finance sector causes a ripple effect in which everyone in town becomes convinced it's a day later, including the bike store. That segment has been canceled. Segment 3, how many bills can we name?
I can't remember. Do we just start going, or do we have some preamble?
We have some preamble that we edit out.
All right, do Williams count?
They can be named William, but they need to at least some of the time be called Bill.
So William McKinley would not work.
Old Bill McKinley? I'd say if you preface it with old, maybe.
Old Bill Shakespeare?
I'm going to time it.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
And
I'll be leading this segment.
3, 2, 1, go.
Bill Withers.
Bill Watterson.
$1
Bill Clinton.
$5 bill.
Bill Bradley. $1 Bill
Bill
Bradley.
Bailey. $6 bill.
Those that they were looking for names, Chris.
Bill Hicks.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Non-specific bill.
Bill from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Non-specific bill.
Bill S. Preston Esquire. Bob the Builder.
Not a true bill.
Bill Gates.
Billings, Montana.
Not a true bill.
Bill Bailey.
Bill Nye
Bill.
the Science Guy.
Oh, Bill
10 bills.
Nighy, the actor.
Bill Hammock, the engineer guy.
12
Billy
bills.
the Kid.
13
Billy
bills.
Batgate.
14
Wild
bills.
Bill Hickok.
Old
15
Bill
bills.
McKinley.
16
Old
bills.
Bill Shakespeare.
17 bills.
Billy Bob Thornton.
18 bills.
Sir Bill of Orange.
Not a true bill.
Bill from Saturday Night Live.
Non-specific bill.
Bill Murray.
19 bills.
Bill Murray. Okay, Bill.
The Bill of Rights.
Not a true bill.
Blinky Bill, which is the name of a koala
20 bills.
in Australia.
No explanation necessary there.
Blinky Bill.
Repeat bill.
Let's not stay on Blinky Bill anymore.
Repeat bill.
Okay, billion.
Billion. Yeah, billion.
Not a true bill.
Your phone bill.
Not a true bill.
Billiards.
Not a true bill.
Did we say Bill Holly?
21
No.
bills.
Bill
Maybe.
Haley. Bill Haley.
Bill
22
Haley in the
bills.
comments.
Bill Holly.
The band.
23 bills.
No, that ought to count.
Bill.
Maybe it is. All right, let's move on.
Bill is Stiller.
Not even close to a bill.
Hold on, I get. Okay, come on.
Bill Spector.
Not
That
even close to a bill.
anthropomorphic cartoon Bill from Schoolhouse Rocks.
Not a true bill.
Bill K. Dick.
Not even close to a bill.
You're not even trying, Chris.
Bill Bronson.
Obviously fake
Oh my
bill.
God, we've got 10 seconds left. This is our worst one. Oh, okay, one more each.
Bill Thompson.
Obviously fake
Bill
bill.
Gates.
Bill.
I already said
Bill
that.
Gates.
Bill Jobs.
Not even close to a bill.
Bill Oates.
Not even close to a bill. Not even close to a bill.
Oh, Bill. Fuck. That was. I don't even.
hard.
I don't even want to know how bad we did.
Total number of bills named 23.
You named 2, John? Chris was just making jokes the whole time, and he got more than 2. Coming at you from BearFriendTeaParty.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Nature Box.
BFTP00040podcast.com.
Broadcasting live from Nature Box headquarters. Bear Friends Tea Party. Segment 4, a special Thanksgiving serious discussion. Is American democracy doomed? Discussion of Matthew Yglesias's American Democracy is Doomed. From Vox Magazine, October 8th, 2015. And we will put the link in the show notes.
So this is my segment. I think you guys did not read the article, correct?
I started it. It did seem really good. I have read some Matthew Yglesias before.
Well, if you've read something he's written, I'm sure it's
I probably
fine.
get the gist.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
I will say I did want to read it.
Unless I'm thinking of Will Salatan.
It seemed really good, and I think I probably agree with it, but if you don't mind like running down some of his key points, John and I live in America, and
so you'll have a lot of background information.
Yeah.
That I might not.
Well, we are exactly.
Well, look, the background here is it's Thanksgiving, and it's a time to be thankful for the country we live in. I think this article was actually, it's dated October 8th, 2015 here. I think it was actually published much earlier, and maybe this is a revised version.
Like a repost.
Yeah. I think it's a provocative title, but he makes a fairly strong argument. I don't know if he gets all the way there, but if I'm painting this in very broad strokes, it would be the United States is a presidential democracy.
Right.
And presidential democracies have, in general, been very unstable.
Williams Jennings Bryan. Old Bill Jennings Bryan.
Oh, Bill Bryson! Bill Bryson!
God damn, that would have been it. Okay, go on.
God damn it.
So
presidential democracies have historically been very unstable.
Yeah.
Because you have conflict sooner or later develops between the legislative and executive branch, and there often is no way to resolve it.
And he's saying this is just a product of like the way our government is like kind of by design divided.
Yeah.
So your president is one branch of government can be like controlled by one party and another branch is controlled by another party, as opposed to in a parliamentary system where you get one party in power and they're running the show.
Exactly. Basically, if you've got the lower house in a typical parliamentary system, then you get to choose the prime minister and you basically run the executive. So, I mean, Yglesias' main argument is the United States has been unusual in that it's been a very stable presidential democracy. And he says that's largely been a feature of us, for most of our history, not having very strong, ideologically sorted parties.
Until now.
There you go. Until now.
Oh, because they've been like kind of...
Maybe I have read this.
Yeah, like both parties used to have more kind of a broad base.
Yeah. They were more patronage systems than ideological groups. Like they were, and so even in times when there was a lot of partisan divisions, like in the Gilded Age, the big question was who's going to get to choose like the Postmaster General. It wasn't so much over questions of policy.
Well, that didn't go very well. Okay, so his first point is presidential system.
The presidential systems have historically been more unstable because of conflict between the executive and the legislative, and often like there's no way of resolving that when you hit a gridlock point. And so what ends up happening is one side sort of takes power extrajudicially, whether that's through a coup or just sort of encroaching, pushing the limit of what's accepted. And that hasn't happened in the States historically because we haven't had ideologically sorted parties, but as John pointed out, now we do.
Yeah.
Like in just the last 20 or 30 years, that's happened.
Well, I was just going to say it hasn't happened here, but you can make the argument, and I think Lawrence Lessig and people like that maybe do make the argument that the U.S. is actually responsible for indirectly for a lot of the problems around the world because they try to copy our system, but they either because they don't do it right or because they do it right, it inevitably fails because it's a sucky system.
So that's point one, and I think he also made the point that in his estimation, perhaps Bush and Obama, in their kind of use of executive authority, had kind of been.
They've been pushing the balance.
I mean, we have seen an executive branch.
But it goes way back, before.
Yeah.
For them, it's every president grabs more and more power.
Yeah.
And no president gives up power.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Grover Cleveland?
Well, Grover Cleveland is sort of the exception.
What don't you think? What about?
I don't know if that is correct.
Wait, the first Grover Cleveland or the second Grover Cleveland?
It was the same guy.
We're gonna blow your mind here, Jeremy.
It was the same guy.
It was?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's also the same Grover from Sesame Street. That's all the same guy.
That is great. Okay, what's his second point?
I mean, in a way, that was it. Or you already see where this is going.
Yeah.
We've recently had a lot more gridlock between Congress and the president. Whether that's George W. Bush and the Democrats in Congress or Barack Obama and the Republicans in Congress. And this has led to a series of crises. Right? Like government shutdowns, debt ceiling. Maybe this article isn't as timely as it was when it first came out because we haven't had a lot of those crises recently. I'm guessing because the Republicans have realized they actually have a pretty good chance of winning in 2016 if they don't do anything weird.
Recorded in 2015.
That was a real mistake.
Nice work. All right. This song just got a lot better.
Well, I think the point is you're having these escalating crises, and whether they're on hiatus for a few years or whatever happens, you're likely to have them again, and you get to a point where the incentives are such that it's often really good for the party that's empowering Congress to push those crises further. And the natural response on the part of the president is to encroach and take more and more power, and that ultimately this is just going to completely change the shape of American democracy, whether that ends up with something that looks more like an elected dictator or what. The current system is just unsustainable, and it's on the way out.
I mean, I support armed insurrection. Personally. I mean, this is something my wife and I always are disagreeing about this. I'm a Trotskyite. I'm really I'm all about permanent revolution. Partly just because I think it sounds cool, and partly because I think that's necessary. You have to just periodically go in and kill a bunch of scumbags that are fucking shit up for everybody.
Has that ever actually worked?
What do you mean?
Has having a society with permanent revolution institutionalized, has that ever had a good result?
I mean, I don't think it's been tried. Permanent revolution?
The cultural revolution in China was
But it wasn't permanent.
Yeah, it finally stopped, and so people stopped starving to death.
It wasn't permanent.
You can't include in your definition of the system that you want that it goes on forever.
Like when most people talk about the problems with the Cultural Revolution, they don't say, if only it had continued for longer.
You have to admit that the term permanent revolution, it's pretty rad.
I'm not saying it doesn't sound cool.
Are you not in favor of permanent revolution?
Well, no. I mean, I'm not saying...
Permanent revolution!
Okay, Am I in favor of the term permanent revolution as like the name of a trendy clothing boutique? Yes, I am.
Or a coffee shop?
Coffee shop? It'd be a good name for a
Okay,
coffee shop. Maybe even an ultra hip ice creamery.
What's a variation on permanent revolution that would make a good name for a coffee shop?
Permanent grind?
No, that sounds like the opposite. Permanent grind. What I did think of that as well. What about the permanent revolution?
Oh, nice.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but it might be the best we do.
Wait,
so what is your wife's side of this argument?
Basically, she agrees with you. She thinks that it's not feasible to have a society if you live in a permanent state of revolution. Well, but I mean, you're just seeing the start of the revolution there.
Yeah,
and like if you made it permanent, you might be able to ramp down the number of people that you were killing. You know, it's like let me put it this way, like if you haven't gotten your hair cut in like a year,
I am due for a haircut.
Okay, they're gonna go in, they're gonna take off a lot of hair. But now if you start going in every week, they're just gonna do a little trim. And you're not gonna have that like...
That's an excellent analogy, Jeremy.
If you think of like the extra length of hair as the like scumbags that need to be like guillotined.
Is that why you get haircuts so often?
Oh, Sarah cuts my hair, so she just cuts it when she's into it.
Yeah, and see, that's how it would be during a state of permanent revolution.
So you just want a revolution when you're into it.
Good luck trying to make an appointment with your stylist in the midst of a revolution.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Can we circle back around? You referred to yourself as a Trotskyite?
I should clarify, I don't know anything about Trotsky. I know two things about Trotsky. Number one, that he was killed by a fake gardener with an ice pick. And number two, that he was in favor of permanent revolution, which I like the sound of. I mean, I generally like, maybe I'm more of just a permanent throw the bums out kind of guy. It's a softer form of Trotskyism. You know, sometimes you go to vote and there's like one or two people you've heard of, and then there's a bunch of judges and shit. Like, should this judge be retained as judge? You know, that kind of shit. I always vote to kick him out. Because I'm like, fuck you. You've already been a judge, asshole. So that's really the only practical form that my Trotskyism takes, I guess.
Voting against judges.
Yeah. Fuck them. But yeah, I would settle for temporary revolution.
So, what else does he say in this article?
I mean,
I really wish I'd read the article.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good there's a whole series, because he wrote it and then some other people at Vox responded. You know, and one was like, well, it's not that we're doomed. We'll probably muddle through with a just barely acceptable governance. I want to stand up for this article a little bit, because one thing I liked about it was that it didn't come off as just like the easy line of saying, everything sucks, everything's going to hell. Everything sucks, everything's going to hell. He has a very specific and detailed argument, and he comes up with some fairly pessimistic conclusions, but it's not just an easy like, everything's fucked, everything's stupid, everything's fucked, everything's stupid. Like, it's actually very specific and step by step. When people just say, everything's stupid, like everything's stupid, everything's stupid, everything's stupid, too simple to even be wrong. This one is specific, reasoned enough that, like, it's wrong or it's right, but he's actually taking a specific stand. So I don't think it's just...
He's not making it sweeping.
I think everyone here thinks this is a really good article and agrees with it, basically. I know I do.
You haven't read it!
I read the beginning of it, and I'm gonna read the rest. The part I read seemed really, like, right on. I mean, it will be interesting to see. You do occasionally have people with, like, really shitty governments that just kind of limp along sucking for a while, and then sometimes they get slightly better.
Yeah.
I mean, Mexico, I guess, is one example. They had that one, like, revolution,
PRI was in
PRI
power
for like
decades.
100 years almost or
Yeah.
something. And then, like,
Well, Mexico's, kind of always been fucked, right?
I think so.
I mean, it's okay now.
I think the parts that are not, like, run by violent drug cartels are pretty nice.
Everything there's great now, yeah.
They have pretty good Mexican food. So when do you think that our government will collapse? We can go around like McLaughlin Group style.
And the answer is...
I don't...
Listeners love McLaughlin Group references.
Yeah.
That show hasn't even been on for like 10 years.
No, I think it's still
or is
on.
it still on?
It's topical.
Is it just in reruns? Just classic McLaughlin Group. He died several years ago.
I don't think the government is likely to collapse. But I can see it over the course of 10 or 20 years becoming more of a system where it's just the president basically makes all the decisions, and that makes the presidential elections much more like winner take all, and so you can see things deteriorating quite a bit. Like the more untrammeled presidential power is, it becomes easier for presidents to abuse their power during elections.
During crises.
Yeah, I don't feel totally secure about any of this. And I don't know that Yglesias is denying the whole things are better now on Earth than they've ever been line, which I think is true. But that doesn't mean that in this particular country...
Oh no, this particular country is fucked.
Bear friendly part.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of, like world, civilization.
Okay, I think we just took a round.
It's a good combination of noises.
I think we just took...
Today on Bear Friend Tea Party, we talked about whether or not you could make a boat out of an old bathtub. We decided that you probably could, but it wouldn't have necessarily been a great boat. We did not discuss the DuckTales episode Allowance Day from 1989, wherein Scrooge's nephews trick him into thinking it's a day later than it really is, so he will give them their allowance money early before a certain bicycle sale ends, but the ploy backfires after Scrooge's vast influence among the finance sector causes a ripple effect in which everyone in town becomes convinced it's a day later, including the bike store. We're going to have to cover that on a later episode. We also had a little fun and decided to see how many bills we could name in 2 minutes, and turns out not very many. Not very many at all. Then we had a real serious discussion about the question of whether American democracy is doomed. In that case, we were discussing the article American Democracy is Doomed by Matthew Yglesias. And we decided that it is. Then I started simultaneously playing a video called Animal Cops.
Now the torture has begun.
And a compilation of funny commercials from 1976 to 1978.
Shine
If not the sun, once my angel and my dog,
as the
automaton become incapable of love. Shine if not the sun, my robotic fiancé. independent
and go away.
Carefree, sugarless gum.
Shineth not the sun.
32% more
Because
gum
I
than
pawned your
dragon.
1,000 thorned wedding ring. For your heart has been replaced with 1,000 steel springs.
Actual interview.
Steel springs, yeah!
Oh my god.
Steel
Look at how white this laundry is.
Steel springs.
That's the power of Clorox bleach.
Springs that are made of steel.
So clean. Clorox clean. People
was
can
just
see
like-
the difference.
I walked into the restaurant for a plate of onion rings.
With a side of salted eggs. No, salt and eggs.
But they just gave me an omelet.
I think you should cut this off.
You know what that omelet was filled with? That omelet was filled with.
Lucky Charms. Shit, there's like a fucking dinosaur. Yeah.
So many steel springs.
That looks like a balanced breakfast to me, alright. Look at that, there's an elephant that says peanut butter on it. Peanut butter elephant. I don't know if has anyone ever even had like peanut butter Captain Crunch? Whoa! Crunch berries.
Correct. Bill Withers, Bill Sykes, Bill Watterson, Bill Clinton, Bill Bradley, Bill Hicks, Bill S. Preston, Esquire, Bill Gates, Bill Bailey, Bill Nye, the Science Guy, Bill Nye, Bill Hammett, Bill Engineer Guy, Billy the Kid, Billy Badfoot, Wild Bill Hicklet, All Bill McKinley, All Bill Shakespeare, Billy Bob Thornton, Bill Murray,
like
Blinky,
there's
Bill Bill
always
Holly,
been a
Bill
show
Harry, Bill
called
Harry, and the
Animal
Comics, Bill
Cops. That's
Thompson.
like a recent development.
That's always been the case. Interesting thing as long as there has always been a show called Animal Cops
About that. Beer Friend Tea Party tonight was brought to you by the long-running TV show Animal Cops, airing 24 hours a day on every channel.
Animal Cops, a permanent revolution of objectivity.
Animal
It's
Cops,
still kind
the
of
only
difficult to,
show
like,
that has ever been
choices you have
on
to make that
TV.
are gonna, like,
And it always is. Affect people like you could just
Animal Cops.
end up like
Animal Cops.
Animal
Now
Cops.
and forever.
Blind algorithm.
Let's keep doing
Where you
slow.
end up like Animal
Let's
Cops.
do a round robin.
They're cops into like
Animal
several
Cops.
districts, so that like
It's a series of
Animal Cops. You're busted, giraffe. What's your head there?
Stop! Hold on. I gotta have
Animal Cops. Just barely. Nice, like a bear? Yeah, like a bear. Animal Cops. They stop the bad guys. Stop them. Animal Cops.
You will stop vomiting eventually.
I'm sorry. Let's just cut this.
I mean,
Bye-bye. The McLaughlin Group. For a transcript, send $5 to Federal News Service, 6 Washington, D.C. 20045. Specify program date. To obtain a free McLaughlin Group Viewer's Guide, write Viewer's Guide, Box 7.